Living down in the South, where the population amount is 57% Black, African American, whites account for 35%. I moved out here in 2019 from Denver, Colorado, because houses were cheaper. I heard the South had Southern hospitality. They used to. I don't know if I see it. But I have had the privilege of watching. I bought my house in the Black community. I work with more Black people than white people. I live in a part of the city I live in which is mostly Black. And I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not prejudiced. I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to. I had a discussion with a student that I work with. I used to drive school bus here and I stopped, but I work with students still. And the students I work with, 99% of them are Black students. And it's interesting to watch that dynamic out here. That about 75% of the Black women, the father's not in the picture. When I moved here and started driving a bus after driving in Spokane, Washington, and Duluth, Minnesota, and Hibbing, Minnesota, and Denver, Colorado, and small other places, and doing rural transit, the bus in northern Minnesota and stuff like that. The area that I live, these are the worst students I've ever seen, and the majority of them are Black. Some routes I'm the minority on the bus, the only Caucasian male. Now, I had a middle school student come up to me one day saying Black Lives Matters, and I said, Irish Lives Matters. No, they don't. I said, they do. And it's interesting, there's information coming out about my race. And I tell people, I told this young man, and I believe in him, and I always try to encourage him to get his grades up and to aim high in life. He wants to be a firefighter. And I said, that's awesome. But I hold up my hand and I hold up a white sheet of paper and I said, which is the color white? And he'll point to that. I said, so what is this? Well, you're white. I said, that doesn't look white to me. It's got a lot of pink and red in there, doesn't it? And I said, in your mind, you've been taught that it's white. I said, now let me show you something. I held up a black object to his skin. I said, which is black? He pointed to the object. I said, so your skin is brown, right? It's not black. Now, I meant Blacks that are Black. Nigerians. I have friends online that are from Nigeria, Kenya, Zambia, Uganda. Some of them are coal-black, but most of the Black people I know down here in the South are more caramel, honeyish brown, and they're brown. They're not black like you would think of black tires or whatever. And what we've done is we've stigmatized a race. And I've had the wonderful privilege of living in the Black community and hearing things like, when I talk about racial issues, they say, well, you're not Black, you don't understand. And I've turned around and I said, so you're implying I'm not as smart as you. Is that what you're doing? I said, isn't that the very thing you got mad at that whites were doing to you back in the day? I don't have to be a certain skin color to talk about issues. I don't know where that's been printed in some book somewhere. I don't know where that is, but it's not in the Holy Bible. And I'm going to talk about this Jayland Walker because I don't know him. I don't need to know him. I did not post his picture because I don't want to post his picture. I have no respect for the guy. And once again, you have a Democrat, Sykes, is going to say he was a kind man. Did she know him personally? Don't think so. And you see the snotty comments by mostly Black people that hate police anyway, a lot of them, saying, 60 shots were fired and blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, I don't care if 10,000 were fired, whatever it takes to stop a dangerous person. This isn't about the bullets, folks. If you'd been shot by one bullet, the same crap would be going on. I lived in Akron, Ohio. I lived in Goodyear Heights. I ran a troubled youth home. I was married. And if you want me to bring it down, I lived on Kickapoo Avenue. And I believe, if I recall right, the street behind me was Cherokee. Akron Metro housing. I had a constant problem with the people living in AMH. I found out who the manager was, told him what was going on, talked about the black people coming up and down the street with the stereo so loud, playing motherfucking Nigger, crappy, loud rap, incessant beat. The home that the agency owned that I lived in with my wife, and we'd have 2 kids for 3 days, and we had black kids, we had white kids, boys, girls. It was a respite home. And the noise, it was down in the basement, I could feel the vibration. It was constant. And I got involved with the neighborhood crime watch. The street I was on was 1950s houses. Husbands at bottom worked. They died before their wives. The older women were still around. They liked us right away. At the end of our street was a cul-de-sac, and 3, if I remember right, 3 Akron Metro houses dotted in there. And I learned early when I was in Akron, the blacks and the whites are 2 different groups of people for sure. The blacks would tear down our street. I think the speed limit was either 25 or 30. One day I yelled, some guy in an El Camino was hauling, and a lot of drug running down there. Somebody come out, hand him something, tear off. And I was doing yard work, and I yelled, "Slow down!" I slammed on the brakes of that El Camino, jammed in reverse, chirped the tires, backed up. "What did you say?" I mean, lips curled, glaring. I said, "I told you to slow down." I said, "We got kids in here. You're going too fast." And I thought, I'm probably going to get shot or beat up. And the guy shocks me. This doesn't happen, by the way, most of the time. He says, "You know what? You're right. You're right. I got you. I'm sorry." I said, "Thank you. That's all. Thank you so much. Thanks for not." And he drove off calmly. But there was a guy that would park in the driveway right behind our fence, a little red S10 Blazer, and just sit there pumping that volume up. And I climbed up on a stepladder and I said, "Man, turn that stuff down." His shaved head, bigger than me, black guy walks up. "Fuck you. Shut the fuck up." I said, "Turn that stuff off." He wasn't going to do it. So I got involved. I got license plates. I called. The police went down there, started busting them. And at that time, Akron had a thing that they get too many noise complaints. You forfeit the car, the stereo, they'll tow the car. You got to pay fines. I don't know if they still have that program. And even here where I live, the black people do what I call urban terrorism. Where I live, they take the Crown Vics, ironically, the old police cars, put 3-foot pimpy rims and put a sound system that's worth more than the used cop car, and they drive around creating urban terror. And where I live, the police will no longer do anything about it because of the wonderful 2020 and the riots and whites are privileged and all this media bullshit. And now police are running scared, and you buy your home, you pay your taxes, and somebody can park across the street until 11 o'clock. And go boom, boom. And you ought to hear the words of this stuff. Most of you know. It's crap. You talk about white privilege. But Sykes, a Democrat, speaking on behalf of the family. The media always does this. They showed George Floyd's 2 little girls, and they're bereft of a daddy. Oh, please. George Floyd, who held a gun to a pregnant woman's belly, robbing her. Yeah, that one. Such a good man. And the facts that I do know, based on the Akron news, he fled from the police not 24 hours before, but he went into another, I believe it was Barberton, and they called off the chase. No shots were fired. The 4-minute chase, police claim he fired shot, and a transportation department cam caught a flash coming out of the window of the car. They found a gun in the car, according to one report. Why was this guy 2 nights in a row running from the police if he's such a kind, good boy? Please. And I got a question to the African-American community in the United States. What do you guys think that you should just have black community? You can do whatever you want and nobody's supposed to comment on it. This isn't about how many bullets were fired. If one had been fired, you would have been still up in arms about it. But 60 bullets. Good. Fire 10,000, whatever it takes to stop the punk. I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad he's not walking. I'm glad. But what's sad is his family, who obviously didn't raise him correctly or whatever the issue was, and I'm going to put it on them. Now they're saying how bad the police are. Oh, it's funny. You don't intervene when your son's acting up. Well, he was acting out of character. No, he wasn't. Why is he running? He did DoorDash or something, so he's driving all the time. Why? The cops put on the lights and the sirens and he doesn't stop. Guilty? I want to know why the black community thinks that everything's against them. Do you know how many white guys get shot and killed by the police? You don't, because you don't care. But let me ask a better question to the African-American community that they will not answer. What if I'd have been driving my truck and when that guy was fleeing the police and I cruised across the intersection, didn't see him, and he T-boned me and killed me? Would the black community have protested that? Would they have given money for my burial? They wouldn't have done the damn thing, and they wouldn't have cared because I was white. That's all you got to do is talk about all these clowns out here that they want to make heroes out of. Rodney King, Michael Brown, George Floyd. All of them were criminals. All of them engaged in THG behavior. And they want to make memorials and statues out of these people. And for me to say what I'm saying, the black community will say that I'm racist. Because I disagree with them. The black community does not look into something in history at all. But there's more research being given on this. Did you know my people, the Irish, were slaves? You know, Africans like to pride themselves in being African American. Well, guess what? I'm Irish American. And I told the kid that. He got into this Black Lives Matter. He says, I'm African American. I said, I'm Irish American. No, you're not. You're white. I said, I'm Irish American because I'm like, but you weren't born in Ireland. I said, you weren't born in Africa. And he sat there and looked at me and it's like, are you getting it yet? Are you getting it yet? You want to shove this BLM thing in my face. My life matters. My heritage matters. My interests matter. And the people I care about matter. And you matter. But don't put your race up against mine. Don't put your race up against anybody else. And I didn't say this to the kid because I can't do this, but to any adult, let me ask the black community one question. What did you invent that everybody in America, white, Asian, or Hispanic, is dependent on? All us whites are so bad. That phone you use, that computer, that car you bought, everything you use was designed and invented by white boys, virtually. You slam our race, we're privileged, we're this. What did you invent it? And none of you go to Africa. None of you get passports and want to move back. Ghana, where the riots are going on, the president of Ghana, the premier or prime minister, whatever, said he welcomed African Americans to his country. They didn't take him up on it. I had an offer from a woman in Zambia, in Kasama, or was it Lusaka? I get the cities mixed up because she lived in the one and got transferred in her teaching job to another. She said, if you come and see me and you marry me, I can visa you. I said, you can't visa an American. She goes, I have property. Hello, sir. And I said, and I wasn't in love with her. She was a good friend of mine. But I would have had no problem moving to Zambia. I would have had no problem moving to Kenya. Another woman on my Facebook has invited me to Uganda. You can stay with my family. We'd welcome you. Why is it the African-American population in the U.S. is still playing the race game? Excuse me. Why is it the African-American population has the highest crime stats? Why is it the African-American population has the highest black-on-black violence? They kill their own more than whites, Asians, or Hispanics kill their own. Why is it that out of all the ethnic groups in the United States, that the actual the actual positive contributions that change and make society a better place do not come from the African American community by and large? That's racist. That's truth. How come the test scores in the African American community are lower, ethnically speaking, against anybody else? Why is it everything has to cater to the African American community? Why is it Jayland Walker's parents or mother or whoever want to stand up here and boo-hoo and cry? And it's so funny how they favor their own skin color, their own family, but they don't realize that when the kids get out of earshot, they're acting like a complete buffoon out there. You got to come down here when I was driving the school buses where I live, and these black kids are getting up into my face when I'm trying to do my damn job. And one thing I've noticed about African Americans in general, they do not like to follow rules by anybody, especially if you're white. And I was one of the first white drivers, according to my boss, when I was doing that, to drive in this locale of the city I was in. And I had 25 years of bus experience. Drove in Denver. I had all black children on that route. Did not have the problems I have down here. And there are areas of the country where African Americans are dangerous to their own, to me, to anybody else. Even where I live now, I would not go walking in certain neighborhoods by myself. I wouldn't go walking in certain parts of Akron or Cleveland. That's right. Why do we have to lower our standards to their community? Why do we have to lower the bar? Why do we have to change the education model and everything? Jayland Walker was not a kind and good boy. He's a sinful man like anybody else. And I'm so sick of the eulogies and the adulation and the praise and the super rock star status of how wonderful this kid was. Wonderful, kind people don't flee when the police sirens come on. Well, maybe he was afraid of police brutality. Please. Akron didn't have any kind of history of that, to my knowledge. Now, I want to be careful about blaming Walker's parents, but what I've seen over and over is a lot of parents, the apple falls not far from the tree, especially in this ethnic dynamic. A lot of these boys have been raised by black women who yell and scream and throw their weight around, and these boys never learn to grow up to be men. They learn to operate off emotionally driven logic. You come over here and tell me to turn my radio down, I'm going to shoot you and beat the shit out of you. Okay, wait a minute. You're bothering me in my house. And why are you sitting in a driveway going thump, thump, boom, boom? What kind of a moron sits in their car and does that all day? That race does. I see it all around here. You won't go in the house, turn on your tunes. You got to sit in the car and thump the whole neighborhood, and somebody's offended and you don't care. And that's the message I get from the African American community. Is only their lives matters. Ours don't. My peace and quiet. And they yell racism every chance they get. It's become a billy club and a weapon to stigmatize anybody from saying anything intelligent about their race that they do not agree with. I've dated black women. I have friends down here that are black, both male and female. And I've looked at some of my black friends and said, you're full of shit about what you believe, but I like you as a person. And even me, I've seen that my presence down here, which has been a complete struggle for me, they need more white people to infiltrate the black neighborhoods. Kids need to grow up with whites. If you get blacks who grow up with blacks, they only see one tiny head of the pen. And I've got kids and middle schoolers and kids that will come up and hug me. Used to be my driver. Kids that hated me because I made them follow the rules. Little kids that come up and call me daddy. I'm not their daddy. This media is trying to tell me that my race is so awful. I'm not going to listen to Oprah Winfrey sitting on 5 mansions and $1 billion. Did she move to the black community? No, she didn't move anywhere near the black community. How about Michelle Obama, who said that we're privileged also along with Oprah? She bought a house on Martha's Vineyard with 40 bedrooms, and she couldn't be bothered to house some of those 50 illegals that they shipped up there to Martha's. And the local community up there said, we don't have room for them. It's funny how and I'm going to say the Democrats, because the Democrat mentality breeds this stupid thinking that you got going on. And I've said it before, there are asshole cops. I've experienced them. I've had to call on stuff that's gone on, and they treat me like I'm the bad guy. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Scorpio. I did not know that you're a black law enforcement officer. Did not know that. Let me read what he said. I plan on leaving after 14 years. Criminals are now valued and officers are the villains. New York City's walking off the job. You got a black lady in charge of the police down in San Francisco, and she is decrying this defund the police mentality. You got black people in Southside Chicago where the shootings are at their worst, older black women who live in those dangerous neighborhoods saying, please don't defund the police. They're the only hope I have. There are good black people in the United States, but our media doesn't focus on them. It focuses on these bad boys that were the first cause. Doing something they shouldn't do. And what I want to know by the black left liberals is why they defend these bad guys. If I went out and ran from the police, the white community is not going to defend me if I got pumped with 46 rounds of lead. They're not going to. Nobody cares. And I'm going to ask this question again all day long about the black community. Rodney King. I grew up in LA, 110 miles an hour on the LA freeways. What if he'd have hit me and killed me because he refused to stop? Where's the outrage from the black community over that? Why is it that these leftist blacks are so myopic and self-centered? All they can think about is their race. Were they coming around Jayland Walker? I read comments on the YouTube under Akron News that said that not 24 hours earlier, Jayland Walker was on another, they called a high-speed chase. They claim he was going 50 and a 45. That's what the pundits were saying. But whatever the case, he wasn't stopping. And he went into another jurisdiction and the police called it off. They didn't violate jurisdiction rules. Then he does it again a night later, but this time he's in Akron. Why is he running? Why won't he stop? And you listen to these buttheads get on the internet. Oh, well, you're 60 rounds. Let me ask you, son of a bitch. What if a white guy breaks in your house? How many times are you going to shoot him until he drops? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many times? How many times? You can negotiate with me and spare my life? No, you're in my house. Okay, well, when you live in America, you got rules to follow. When you don't, and it would have been a normal routine traffic stop for a burnout taillight, and now you're running. What does that make the police think? Oh, he's got drugs in there. You know, what's going on? Got a dead body in the trunk. Of course they're going to pursue. We see it on the school buses. Kids smoke pot on the bus routes. I drove black kids. You go to school and tell them, well, you know, we can't prove it. We'll need to pull the video. But they don't kick them off. Our society is praising lawless people. I don't know Jayland. I don't care that he got shot. Because if I get shot, the black community is not going to shed a tear over my shotness. Jayland Walker could have simply pulled over and been alive today. But now we got to tie up the courts. And I guarantee you, my gut is this jury is going to be scared to death to side with the truth. And they're going to go after the police. And of course, mommy and daddy will get a big check. I don't know why they allow that. Just like the clowns. With George Floyd. Something like $27 million. And why do they pay out so much? I live down here. Blacks favor blacks. I work with people all day. I try to tell them something or talk to them. As soon as another black person walks in the room, they'll ignore me and start talking to them. One thing I've noticed about blacks, they're very myopic. They're very, just like when I lived in Hibbing, Minnesota, it's a white town, but it's cliquey. And I've noticed a lot of blacks, they only listen to their black music, only want to talk about their black issues. They make fun of us, make fun of our music, make fun of our ways. It's funny how they would get away with that. Not all blacks are like this, but we got another media shitstorm and a verdict's about to be rendered, and they're already putting up tent fences around everything because if the verdict goes the way that it should go, guess what's going to happen? Downtown Akron is going to get destroyed. I want to know why the Democrats and the blacks think that it's okay to destroy all this property. What if the white people rose up and said, we're sick of you all, we're going to go in your neighborhood and set everything on fire and run you out of here? You see, then it wouldn't be okay. But you can go to Target, you can go to AutoZone, you can go up and down Main Street anywhere and trash everything. Stuff that has nothing to do with your issues. Jayland Walker wasn't a kind kid. We had 2 lawmakers expelled in Tennessee the other day. They were acting stupid. There was a white woman Democrat with them. There was some sort of a protest. They were all acting stupid. But the white woman didn't cross the boundary that the 2 black did. They expelled them out of the Tennessee Senate or the House or whatever. And of course, the white woman who's a Democrat all over. Well, this was racist because I was protesting too, and they had some person in the legal field said she wasn't doing what they were doing. She protested, but she didn't cross the lines. But now it's going to be a case as race goes round, outraged, bad white supremacist Republicans. I want to know why the black community thinks that we can't hold them accountable for the rules that we're all supposed to follow. Come here to where I live. They don't follow the rules. They blow red lights like you wouldn't believe. What if Jayland Walker had collided with somebody's grandma and killed her? Can we get $27 million from his parents? Jayland Walker committed a crime and not stopping. And people want to argue semantically about it wasn't a high-speed chase. He didn't stop. He did not follow instructions. Akron Metro Housing was a problem 24/7. When I got involved in the Neighborhood Crime Watch and I contacted the manager of Akron Metro Housing, when I got involved with the old ladies in the neighborhood, they didn't like the shelter home that we had. They said the other families that were there, and it was a Christian organization we got hired by that owned that home. They said the kids would run in their yard, knock over their trellises, playing football and stuff. And I told the kids, you can play, but do not go running through the neighbor's yard, please. They said we're the first family to teach and show respect with regard to the kids. The city council guy met me at a Neighborhood Crime Watch. He says, I got to give you admiration and respect for standing up to what's going on back there. All these ladies in this neighborhood appreciate you. I know there's bad white people. That's not what this video is about. I know there's dirtbag cops. Unfortunately, you cannot reason with people who want to defend lawless people. They turn this into a skin color incident. I don't care who it is. You got black people getting arrested, get shot, and it automatically is race. And what the black community is saying is that we're not supposed to bust them. We're not supposed to hold them accountable. We're not supposed to do anything. For the love of God, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in the 1800s. The Civil Rights started in 64 or the 60s at some point. They're becoming presidents and governors and bosses and buying houses and pickup trucks and have bank accounts. I mean, I don't understand why they keep beating the racial drum. I hope the jury has a pair of balls and stands on the side of truth. I'm getting sleepy. Forgive me. As a white person, Caucasian, I'm getting tired of our race getting beat up. I'm getting tired of an ethnicity that brings a huge percentage of problems in this country telling me that my race is privileged. Come live where I live, and I'll show you who the privileged ones are in my workplace, on the streets, with the crap that goes on. They're not getting pulled over. They're not getting stopped. They're not getting fired. They're not losing their jobs. Somebody just got voted in to be a district attorney. Oh, the first black district attorney. Who cares? Can he do the job? And you know who polarizes this country more than anybody else? The African American people. And I'm going to say it again. You pride yourself in your African American heritage, but there's nothing African about you except DNA. Just like there's nothing Irish about me except my DNA. And to watch Biden go over there and say he's finally coming home, please. Disgusting. But when I talk to African women overseas, they know 3 languages, they have jobs, they have businesses, they dress nice. They don't support this crap that goes on over here. And why do these people choose to stay in this country and tell us how racist we are? When people from Nigeria, Zambia, Kenya, and all kinds of African nations want so desperately to come and live in America. I'm going to tell you a little secret that you may not know, but when people in other countries want to leave their countries and come here, it must not be as bad as the African Americans say it is in the U.S. There you go. Now we're on to something. And the African Americans in the U.S., Oprah's got $1 billion, and Obama's got millions of dollars, and these high-profile black people, they're not even going to Africa. They're not even going to go over there and move and live because they don't want to. You know what Oprah could do with $1 billion in Kenya? She could live like a queen over there. And they want to stay here and bitch about my race. They want to sit here and complain about my race and tell us we're privileged. Excuse me, you're a billionaire. You made your money off white stay-at-home housewives on your show where you were a self-appointed guru. You're the one that's privileged. Please. And 5 mansions, really? And one was $90 million. You voted for a party that's all about CLIMATE issues. How are you preserving the environment with 5 mansions, with heating and cooling systems and all of the electrical and the energy it takes? Please. I don't know when the Black community is going to wake up about their own people and the hypocrisy and the double standard and the Black leaders that they also vote in. Mr. Obama himself, who loves to stir the racial pot, and his father wrote a book saying that whites are privileged and empire builders. This coming from a guy who's living on Martha's Vineyard. At one time, Blacks could not buy property in a lot of the U.S., and especially Martha's Vineyard. Not only did he buy property, he's got a mansion with 40 bedrooms in it, whatever. Why did he not move to Compton? Blacks are so wonderful and they're so persecuted, and whites are so bad to them. Why aren't you living in the Black hoods in Chicago and Detroit and the places all over the South down here? Oh, yeah, see? The proof is in the pudding, folks. They move as far away from that as they can. Jayland Walker is another whiny story with whiny parents looking to sue, looking to profit, looking to make money. And I'm tired of it. Now, I don't care about the parents and their feelings. They didn't care about, again, to the mother of Jayland Walker, fuck you and your mentality. Fuck you and your attitude about everybody else outside of your little tiny little head of a pin, and you and your son's lost when all he had to do was obey a traffic stop. Because if there'd have been 46 rounds punched into me by the police, you wouldn't have said a word. And if your son had hit me in my truck and flipped me over and killed me, you wouldn't have said a word. You favor your skin color, and to hell with everybody else. Listen to LeBron and these assholes that are making millions of dollars talk about my race. Snoop Dogg wanting to go to Canada. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. I'm not going to be sensitive to Jayland Walker's mother. I'm not going to be. You're not sensitive about the shit that I and my race has been through. You don't fucking care. It's always about your Black culture, your Black superstars, your Black NBA, your Black football. Man, there's a whole fucking world out here, and most of them don't even care that you exist. But I would like to go to Africa. I would marry a Black woman if I could find a conservative, God-fearing woman that was in love with me. But I'm not going to find that easily. Not here. I think Black women have a lot to offer if they get loose themselves from the Democrat Party, the victim mentality, and the plantation mindset that they keep themselves on. And you, lady, I don't know what you were like as a parent, but looking at your son, I kind of have a feeling of what I've seen down here. It's the same old, same old. Same old, same old. Deficit. And I have a right to my opinion. If that offends you, awesome. Your people are offending me with what they're doing. I'm so sick of you polarizing this country. There's 330 million Americans, and African Americans making 13%. And it's always Marsha, blacks. Man, what about the Asians? What about the Irish they paid less for the Irish people as slaves? And there is evidence possibly supporting there were more Irish people as slaves. They were beaten and whipped and tore up and killed, just like the Blacks. But you're not hearing that in the public school with CRT. Critical race theory, if you don't know what that means. I don't care about Jayland Walker. Scumbag. Boom, shot, done. And then we got to waste all this time determining who's at fault. Not one word from the Black community about his stupid and foolish actions. Let me tell you who's entitled. You guys. You want immunity for anything you say, for anything you do. Look at the music your community produces. Foul, vulgar, using the N-word. And if a white guy drops the N-word, oh, war's on. You hypocrite. Move the beam out of your own eye to see the splinter in mine. I'd love to have a megaphone and shout to LeBron in this black community because this white boy is tired of it. You guys shit on society. Not all of you, but people like you. If you'd have controlled your son and raised him right, please. And black young men are growing up without a lot of good role models. And a mom that made a bad choice to get involved with a bad guy to begin with. Morgan Freeman said 75% of the problems in the African American community are brought on by themselves. Morgan Freeman said that. And Morgan Freeman's no friend of mine. He's not siding with whites. And it shouldn't be like this. This is America. We're Americans. When you don't follow the rules, you pay for it. If I don't pay my taxes on my house, the city starts to make a move. I had to go to court with a woman in the neighborhood here. Her daughter set the house on fire, burned some in the kitchen, black woman. The woman didn't have her insurance policy on the house. Lives in a trailer with mold all over it and tarps all rolled up on it. It leaks. 3 barking dogs jumping the fence for 3 years, coming into my yard, dragging pants and garbage and shitting in my yard. And I'm going to imitate this. All day, all night, over nothing. I went to court. I had notes, 3 years of notes. And before that, her son was coming into these shit cars that he took the mufflers out of with different colored body panels and pulls in the yard there. Nobody's living in the house. This was before she had a travel trailer moved in. And I asked my neighbor, I said, what's the deal with that property over there? It's an eyesore. Oh, a woman didn't have insurance and her daughter set the place on fire. I didn't do a damn thing to these people. The boy parks over there with his boom, 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 invites all his friends. It's like open house. All the Crown Vics pull up, open the hood, the trunk, and all 4 doors when it's raining. Police sirens, all the shit that comes out of their sound systems. And it was just going on and on. I did what anybody reasonable guy did, call the police. He walked across the street, told the black family to live next door. And that white boy called the police on us. I didn't leave my name number. I'd called anonymous. The police called my house because 911 has my number. Yeah, I said, I didn't ask for a call back. Well, the guy here believes you're the one that did it. I said, well, he doesn't know who did it. So you telling him I called? Is that what your job is? The police are scared of the black people. And we got black officers here. And the black officers here and the white officers, the other day, a cop went, boom, flying past me, 45 miles an hour on the highway. I get to the red light. He's there. I have my right turn signal going. I'm going the speed limit. Pulled up next to the cop. I look. He pulled past the limit line, which that's a no-no. And I pulled up a little bit to look, and he guns it, sees that he's about to run the red light and stops. I look over at him going, what are you doing? Now I can't see, so I had to pull up a little further so I can make the right turn. But these guys drive like nuts around here. I don't defend the police. You're supposed to be an example. But I'm not going to defend a 25-year-old kid that lost his fiance and all these bad boo-boos happened to him. Man, do you know what silent screaming is, people? Does anybody know my story? Does anybody know about the hurts when I want to cry, but I can't because I got to be a man and face this world by myself? Oh, I'm privileged. Yeah, adopted. Rejected by family 1, rejected by family 2. And I've been shit on all my life. And I drive a bus. I drive smooth around the curves. I don't drive now. And I come down here and these kids are off the chain, rude to me, nasty, argue, say stuff, mean stuff, nasty stuff. Yeah, your community's awesome, lady. And I have a right to talk about this because it's public. It's out there. And we've got woke and Democrats and lawless officials making big money that want to weigh in about this poor little boy and ride with me on those buses of the past and see these poor little boys and how sweet they are. Third graders. One of the routes I did down here, third graders, all black, jumping over the seat. Fuck you, bitch, ho! Yeah, saying that, punching a girl in the face repeatedly down on the seat, and I have to pull them apart. What are you doing? I'm a fucking killer. No, you're not. Third graders so hard. Don't talk to me about my race. Don't talk to me about my race. Don't talk to me about my race and privilege. I hope they throw the book at this mess. On Jayland's side, I don't think. I'm so sick of them nitpicking with a microscope of everything the cops do. Not one word. The mother simply said, according to a news source, he was acting out of character. Yeah, 2 nights in a row. Saying that the cops planted the shell casings there. The other ones. Okay. I remember what I saw in Akron. I remember what I saw in Spokane when I had one black kid on an all-white bus. He was the worst. I greeted everybody the same. He'd get up, move around, jump seats, middle school. Dude, I need you to sit down. They had assigned seating. That was mandated by the private bus company that we were contracted by the school district. I would never work for them again. I did my job well. Did not miss one day, did not have an accident. We had crappy management there. I wrote this kid up again and again and again. I tried to work with him. And I told him, you need to move into your assigned seat. The second to the last day of the school, and I finally went to one of my supervisors. I said, man, he came down and met me at the bus, and he called my name and says, what is the problem here? He says, I'm having mommy issues. The second to the last day of school, kid walks down the aisle. He says, I just wanted to say, fuck you, shut the fuck up. I hate you, fuck you. We white people are supposed, I said, get off of my bus and don't you dare come on here tomorrow. And if he'd have went home and reported that and called me out, yes, I said it, fire my ass. It's a fucking school bus. I'll move back to Colorado and get on with Denver Public Schools in 5 minutes. They'll want me anywhere I go. I never got a call. The kid was an ass every day. And the more impressionable bad boys fed off of that. They applauded him. I was doing my job and doing what I was supposed to do. I tried to reach out to the kids. There were kids on there that had discussions with me. There was a kid that acted up constantly. And I sat him down one day. I said, you know, you're smart. Why are you joining all these kids? He began to turn around. I was doing my walk in the mall in Spokane. And he saw me and he goes, hey, how you doing, Mike? I said, you've really improved. And I think he said, you're pretty cool, man. And he got through to me. One day on that bus route, it was a 12-minute route with 20 kids. That's it. One black, all the rest white, boys and girls. I said, how come you guys cannot behave for 12 minutes to and from school? 12 minutes. All you got to do is sit down. Girls on the bus asking me in Spokane, do you masturbate? That's not an appropriate question to ask your driver. Well, but we're human. I said, that's not an appropriate. This is an extension of the classroom. We're not going to talk about this. Do you look at porn? That is not an appropriate question. One girl said, can I be on your Facebook? And all I did was with some laughter, said, oh, that'd be a good idea. Me, your bus driver, having a student on my Facebook. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I guess that does sound kind of creepy. Yeah, no. I got kids who get off the bus and they stand in front of the bus and stand there going like this instead of getting out of the road. And you got this one black kid that every day is going to light it up, then light it up, then light it up. Now let's talk about a positive. I had a black route in Denver. It was a school that people did not like to drive through. It was a K through 8. I had all mostly black kids on that route. It was the morning route. So morning and afternoon are night and day. Morning, they're usually tired, less likely to. Now I come out here to where I'm at, in the dirty South, as they call it. It don't matter if these kids have just woke up. Now, off the chain, a second to get on this bus down here. How about candy bars for these children in Denver? Our driver that had him in the afternoon was a big Mexican guy, and I liked him. He still works there, and I respect him. I would hire him. He said, man, these kids are awful to me. Every day he was calling on the radio for this, that, security, blah, blah, blah. When I went to leave to bid on a bus route that had more hours to it, because in Denver, you don't get a set amount of hours. You have to bid by seniority. You might have a route that's only 5.5 hours a day. Well, no one can live off of that in Denver. So when I saw an 8 show up, I jump on it and still do field trips and get OT. And the day that I got, I had out, my seniority got me this other route that had 8 hours in a midday, so I took it. And I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my kids because I came in Monday. They said, hey, you got that route and we didn't realize it. You need to drive it today. Oh, boom. Okay. I come in after morning routes that morning, and a lady who was a small Hispanic woman says, she mentioned school. She goes, oh my gosh, that route you have, those kids are so bad. And I said, what are you talking about? Oh, they were so disrespectful to me. They yelled at me. They screamed at me. I said, what did you do to them? Nothing. I said, you start yelling at them? And she does yell. One of the kids said, where's Mike? She goes, he's not here. He's on a different bus. They started yelling, we don't like you. We want Mike back. I never taught those kids to do that. I had another route. Most of those kids came over from Africa at a middle school. They were loud, very loud. I had to tell them, hey, I don't mind the talking, but can you keep it down just a little bit? They were having an argument over the Bible. I did not have the problems with the African-American students or the African students in Denver like I do out here. You go to places like Chicago, you go to Akron, you go to these, you start getting east of Mississippi, or you go into LA and the West Coast. You got some real issues with the African-American community. There was a video that showed a black woman rolling through Fargo. Now, everybody knows Fargo is going to be mostly Scandinavian descent. And a lot of black people down here criticize, oh, well, it's a mostly white town. I finally said, what is wrong with that? You always say that with contempt. These people moved there a long time ago, and the community stayed, and you guys didn't choose to move there, and you say it's racist. Why do you do that? Go to Ghana, it's mostly black. Go to Kenya, it's mostly black. That's what you'd expect. This is America. It's going to be mostly white in some of these places. Why is that wrong? I mean, it's ridiculous, the stupid, retarded thinking of some of these folks. This black woman is driving erratic. They showed the video from the police car. And the cop pulls her over to do a stop. She refuses to pull out her license, saying he's racist. And you hear a guy say, so you want to play that card, huh? You were weaving in and out of traffic. You weren't using your blinker. You're driving erratic. You're a black woman in Fargo, and now you're going to make a black statement about how awesome your fucking people are. Let me tell you something, so that blacks don't misunderstand me. When I drove across the country in 2019, I never think, well, I'm white, I'm an American. When I drove my little red truck across this country, I followed the rules. When I got down here in the South, I saw cops everywhere, waiting right at a sign where it goes from 55 to 25, no warning. I made sure I followed the rules. And you see Barney Fife sitting over there with his gun. I really like it when towns have that warning, reduce speed ahead. But you got some places they don't, and it's a beautiful speed trap for assholes that have nothing better to do than to rake in tickets for the city coffers. That shit needs to stop. Put a speed reduction sign. But people are going to speed are going to speed no matter what. But even me, I don't think I got white privilege. Well, the cops will treat you different. Oh, really? Did you know cops were raping white women in the South? They treat us different, huh? That's why they give women permission to go to the next town or a well-lit area before pulling over. And cops are going to be dicks. They're going to be dicks to anybody. But when you are a community that puts a target on your back, and in every situation, when you see a cop with a body cam on, and in the case of Michael Brown, he's told to get on the sidewalk. What was he, 15 years old, big, overweight boy. He doesn't, comes and bum rushes Officer Wilson's car, reaches in, tries to grab his gun. What the fuck does a black community think an officer's going to do? And then you hear the media play this shit up. He was just a boy. That boy was bigger than me. He could have punched me and dropped me in the street. Stop calling him a boy. You want to play grown man games and you want to rough up a store clerk, 15 years old, you should be enjoying being a kid, not committing adult crime. I'm not going to grieve over Jayland Walker's loss because they're not going to grieve over mine. I have been the victim of racism by blacks many times in my life, from Los Angeles to Akron to Denver to Spokane to Hibbing, Minnesota. Places where the blacks are not in the majority at all. And now I'm down here where they're the majority race. Let me talk to you about the condition of this place down here. Houses with the porches falling in, big blue tarp over the roof, busted automobiles and parts and shit and broken toys and bicycles and mattresses and couches all over the yards. Any city I lived in on the western side of this world, zoning would come in and say, I need to pick that up or we're going to fine you. Man, I took care of the estate in Colorado. I kept that property pristine. Jim put something on the side of the fence by the dumpster. The city came by and put a tag on his door. You need to pick that up. Oh my gosh. It wasn't out there but a week. You don't mow your lawn and the weeds are 3 feet high. The city of Lakewood will come by. You need to do something. This isn't a gated community. But out here, you can have 10 busted cars, barking pit bulls running loose, broken, shredded debris all over the yard, and nobody does anything. Got privilege? Got favoritism? No. Blacks want immunity. They want to be able to say what they want, do what they want, and you can't tell them any different. How come Asians follow the rules and Hispanics follow the rules and everybody just... And I'm not saying they're all perfect. People at various times break the law or fuck up or accidentally go over the speed limit. We know all that. But what is it about this obstinate mentality within the black community that I don't have to do what anybody else tells me? And that's why you get shot. And that's why you get pulled over. And that's why all this shit happens. But let's talk about Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. She's a classic liberal. Let's fuss and focus on Abbott down in Texas. He shouldn't be sending these illegals and making political pawns. You should stay in your lane, black woman, in Chicago and take care of the black on black violence. But don't be worried about what somebody in Texas is doing. She did not do her job as a leader. She stood idly by and let black people tear each other apart. And guess what? Baltimore, same thing, black mayor. Go around to these places and see how all this black leadership is doing. They talk about Trump. They talk about whites. They talk about conservatives, white supremacy. Okay, you guys are in charge. What are you doing? Nothing. Let me tell you, if I was in charge of Baltimore or Chicago, I'm not mayor material. I don't want to be mayor material. They'd never vote me in Chicago. They'd never vote me in Baltimore. My life would have a target on its head if I walked down the streets in the inner city of any of those places. Get this fucking guy out of here. But I tell you what, if God put me in that office, I'm going to do my damnedest to turn that shit around. That's what you're supposed to do as a leader. We got a radio station across the bridge from me in South Carolina, 94.7. We call it Racist Radio. Black station playing cheesy, cheese whiz, so-called Christian music. It sucks. And they're telling people to vote by color constantly. Got to vote in the black people. Got to vote in the black people. Let a white station do that. I listen to a white secular radio station. It's called Bob FM. Plays black and white 80s rock. Michael Jackson, Prince, Diana Ross, all that. Dropped a Bomb on Me by the Gap Band, stuff like that. They play Aha, YouTube. But we got a Christian radio station that claims to be all black, telling people to vote by color and encouraging them to all vote Democrat, even though the Bible is against abortion, which is murder, and the whole gay marriage thing. The black community gets behind that party. And now you got a Democrat woman in Ohio that's going to say how kind Jayland Walker is. You did not know him. You did not watch what he was doing. You got all these pundits and armchair experts that weren't there the night this happened. I wasn't there either. I don't know what Jayland did or the police did. I'm just going off of reports. And these people want to take the automatic side that the law enforcement's fucked up. And I just say, were you there? Did you know this guy? Did you try to stop him from behaving like that? I'm getting tired of living in a country where we've got shitty people in this country that they think their wisdom is so fucking superior. Oh, 60 bullets. Hey, how about pull over? Are you retarded? You see lights and sirens. Pull your fucking car over. Pull your fucking car over. Put your hands out. How you doing, sir? You got a busted taillight. Who's the fucking idiot here? The cops or the boy? Don't talk about my race. Quit talking about police and police brutality. Miss Walker, why don't you sit down and do your homework and see about how many black shot white cops that were doing their job and follow protocol to the letter of the law? Get back to me. You want to sue everybody and get rich? Some of you all are racist as hell. And you put us in a position of being on the defensive, where they're forced to do one of two things. Oh, I don't want to offend the black people. I'll just try to get along. Fuck that. My natural inclination is to avoid controversy. I know you wouldn't believe that watching my videos. I don't go to my workplace and say, y'all voted Democrat, huh? I don't do that. I'm not one of those old fools. But if somebody wants to ask me what I believe, I'm going to stand up and say, yeah, this is what I believe. I had a woman ask me, you vote Republican, are you racist? I vote Republican, so that automatically gives you the brand as a racist, huh? Who's breeding ignorance? Who's teaching the lies? Exhibit B, the black community. And then you got black people, like one watching this video right now, wants to leave law enforcement, doesn't buy into the horseshit that they're trying to push and spoon feed down his ethnicity's group, and let him think for himself, like Candace Owens. And there are quite a few black people that think for themselves, and they're branded as Oreos, and they're rejected by the black community at large. I have a coworker, a black woman, who said she voted for Trump, and her mother said, man, I should have thrown you in front of a car. Sheeple, following the herd mentality. And you get behind a party that in 1860 or 1880 said black people don't have rights under the law. They're not human. They say the same thing about abortion. The black community was in danger and enslaved by the Democrat left. Now the Democrat Party owns the black community again. The KKK was started by the leftists, the Democrats. Jim Crow laws. And Governor Kemp of Georgia tried to clean up the ballot and the voting issues, and the blacks screamed, "Ow, Jim Crow!" Funny, you have to have an ID to drive your car. You have to have an ID to get into the workplace. I have to flash my badge when I go out the employee gate of where I work. And you got a problem with voter ID and say it's racist. Well, driver's license is racist. When I go onto the military base every day, I guess they're racist too because they asked to see my military pass. I'm not in the military, but I got a badge to get in there. Huh. Interesting. If you stop listening to the media and you stop voting Democrat and you start actually doing research, it's amazing how refreshing the truth can be. And what is happening, I find myself battling depression more and more every day. I did very little work on my house this week because when I watch the direction this country's going, I'm going, am I even going to own this house in 10 years? Or is this government going to just price us out of existence and we all just go bankrupt and lose everything? Is that, this country's in deep trouble. And we got this myopic community over here that all they can focus on is their damn skin color. They're not paying attention to what China and Russia are doing. They're not paying attention to what's going on in Israel. They're not paying attention to this big thing called a big picture. They're focused on the head of a pin about their little boo-boos in the black community. But what are y'all going to do if Russia doesn't fly over and goes, you think they care about the black issue? What's it going to take for this young generation, this woke generation, and a lot of people in the black community to stop this shit and wake the fuck up to what's really going on? What's it going to take? We'll take an ICBM into New York City or LA or Seattle. You think that can't happen? You think our military is so terrific? The Bible's shown historically that some of the nations that were the most wicked, God used to bring judgment against a less than wicked nation. If you think we're invincible, just remember, there was a ship they thought that about too. And an iceberg and 2.5 miles of ocean water later, there she sits, rusting and rotting at the bottom of the sea. You think it can't happen? Am I trying to be insensitive to Jayland Walker's parents? No, I'm not. But they're insensitive when they want to make an inference that the police are wrong, the police are wrong, the police are wrong. Your son was wrong, your son was wrong, your son didn't obey the law, your son didn't stop. Focus on that and get off of your fixation and straining at gnats and swallowing camels. Your son fucked up and you don't want to come to terms with that. If my son did the same thing and 46 rounds of bullets hit him to stop him, I'd be grieved that my son left. My son is in armed security and he buys guns. I said, don't be a fool. Don't ever do things half-cocked. Only use your gun as per the law, only when you need it. And you better be able to stand up in a courtroom. I have a friend living in Akron. He taught English in China for 6 years. Actually, he's in Cleveland. He was living in Akron for a while. He said the city's gone to hell. I actually liked parts of Ohio. Akron I didn't care for. And can I say something honestly, black community? After living in Akron, I looked at my wife. I said, I don't want to live where there's a lot of black people. I just don't want to do it. I said, all this crap that went on in this neighborhood, I said, this is crazy. We had bullet holes in the vinyl siding on our house. Our agency told us that as well. How do you think I feel as a white guy when a big old boat car pulls up in my driveway? We lived in the back of the house in our bedroom, and it has a sliding glass door that faced the driveway but not faced the front. All of a sudden, the sliding glass door lights up. My then wife says, what was that? I said, somebody pulled into our driveway, and I walked to that little diamond with the window tinting on it. And I looked out, the car with a bunch of black people sitting in it pulls up into our driveway, and I wait for a minute, thinking they're going to do a turnaround or whatever. They sit there. I come out onto the front porch and turn on the porch light and lean over the rail. They sit there and stare and don't back out of the driveway. What am I supposed to do with that? They're all big. They're all bigger than me. Most black people are bigger than me, much stronger than me. I didn't yell. I just stood there and watched. I didn't come down towards their car. I didn't come down off of the front porch. 5 minutes of this shit went on, and they finally backed up and left. If they had done that in Georgia some of these communities down here, they might have been fired upon. You coming up into somebody's yard like that and you're not leaving or you're not getting out and discussing yourself? Yeah, there's a lot of black community that goes on in this country. Way more than there is for me. Way more. I have a feeling that this will be a jury that just isn't going to, they're afraid. They're afraid of riots. We're living in a country where Republicans are being told you got to soften your stance on abortion or you're not going to get elected. We're being told not to be men anymore. Let me tell you something. If I heard all the evidence, both for and against, you think I want to be sequestered in a jury over a high-profile trial like that? I'll look at everybody in the room if they're all black liberals and say, I'm not buying this shit. Okay? I'm not standing with you guys against the police. This is what they did. This is what he did. I'm looking at factual evidence based on the police testimony, based on their findings. And no. So guess what? You have a hung jury. You think I'd feel comfortable in that? Because guess what those black people are going to do? They're going to go back and tell other black people, yeah, that white guy in the jury, I'd be in danger as fuck. But why would I change my stand? If I got to die at the hands of black people because they don't agree with me, well, then that was God's way for me to go home. Look, the only people polarizing things in this country are them. Most white people I know, I don't hear them talking about blacks. I've heard some people tell me, I don't like blacks. I don't want nothing to do with them. They don't call them the N-word. They said, I see what they do in these big cities. I don't want nothing to do with it. I want to live my life in peace. But the blacks say, oh, that's racist. You remember what the black people said during the BLM and all that bullshit in 2020? We need our own place where there's no white people. Oh, it's okay for you to say that. But guess what? They got their own place in Southside Chicago, Baltimore. Look what they're doing to each other. Anybody want to study Haiti? Nobody wants to talk about that. What if there was more Irish slaves than blacks? And there's some fact checking I've done that they said nobody knows for certain, but they said it could be the case. They paid more for a black slave than an Irish because the blacks were strong. Privilege. I'm white privileged. Remember that. If I had a white wife or an Irish wife, they'd take that wife from me. She'd go to the elites to be passed around as a sex toy. Where's the reparations for the Irish? Where's the reparations for the Jewish and all the shit they've been through? Where's the reparations for the Chinese that were brought over as slaves as well? America is always ground to powder by 13% of the total population that brings the lion's share of problems to this world, to this culture over here. I'm not saying whites are perfect, Hispanics, Asians. I'm not talking about that. But on a percentile-wise basis, based on numbers, the prison stats are not in the favor of the black community. And we're living in a time where Sykes is calling good evil and evil good. He was kind. And you're right. Nobody's going to get on YouTube and say what I'm saying. They're scared shitless. I've been trolled. I've had death threats on me. Nothing new. It's just, it always comes down to this. Black guy fucks up, ends up getting shot. Millions of dollars and time and resources and media coverage are devoted to this, and everybody's racist, but the kid that did it, the person that did it, again, if Rodney King had hit me at 110 miles an hour, no one would have gotten $27 million. Nobody. Black community, you're hypocritical. What if Jayland Walker hit me and killed me when he was not stopping for the police? You guys want to argue about it wasn't high speed. 45 miles an hour. He could have killed me if I was walking across the street and I had the green light and he didn't. This is the acid test of where the black community really stands. They don't give a shit about anybody else. It's always a color issue. Racism is more prevalent in the black community today than it is in the whites. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. And I don't know when the black mothers out there that want to scream and yell lawsuit, when they're going to stand up and be a damn example and teach your kids to stop fucking with everybody out there. The bus driver, the teacher, the police. Jayland Walker made a choice to do this to the cops. He had the right to do that. The freedom, I should say. Cops say he fired at him. Oops. Why did he get out of his car and flee? Why is he running? I promise you, if I had a drone that was the size of a housefly, I'd love to get into Miss Walker's house and watch their lifestyle for about 24 hours, and that'd tell me a lot. Because I see it down here all day long. When I was in Duluth, 89,000 population, the blacks now, 2023, 2.4% populace. I lived at 804 East 3rd Street, 8th and 3rd. I didn't bother nobody. Walked out of my house, and diagonal from my apartment across the other corner, there was a house with a deck. Old, all these were old turn-of-the-century buildings, and there's a black woman sunning all of herself on the deck, and her kid is up on the deck, leaning over the rail, yelling honky, whitey. As I'm walking up the street to go to the store to buy some groceries, and I finally stopped. I said, "Are you racist? What is your problem?" Do you think Mom stood up and said, "Stop yelling that"? You think that black woman cared that she was in a white dominant area to stop her kid from inciting shit? The one block the other way, I'd walk down to IGA, a black young man come out the house and block the sidewalk. I didn't say a word. I moved to the right. He moves. I moved left. He's blocking me. I said, "Man, leave me alone." I called my pastor. I said, "I got a problem. Every time I come by this house," he says, "just go around the block." I said, "Pastor, why do I got to go around the block? I'm not racist. I've done nothing." He says, "The guy's obviously got issues." One day he wasn't there anymore. I told you all the story about Mammoth Lakes when the black family, the only black family, moved up there at that time, town of 2,500. I lived a block away from them. They lived in an A-frame house. And one day I was walking and they come tearing off of their property and chased me, and I'm running scared to death. Thank God for Ike Linder, who's now deceased, a World War II vet, had a K5 Blazer. He pulled around the corner, see what's going on. "Hey! Leave that young man alone. Get away from him." They looked at him like, "What the fuck?" I got up out of he'd been through World War II. He wasn't afraid of these punks. "Michael, get in the truck." I got in shaking. I said, "I didn't do anything. I didn't even say." He goes, "Yeah, they move here and they come here and want to cause trouble, and this isn't the place for it." And black people say, "Oh, that's racist." Some of us want to get away from some of y'all because nobody wants to live like that. We don't want our houses broken into. We don't want drive-by shootings. We don't want bullet holes in our siding and drug dealing and urban terrorism with your loud, offensive music. And if that bothers you, add this one in for free. Man, if I bother you, if I do something to you, you're going to stop it. We don't have that right in luxury. You'll shoot us. You'll beat us up. You'll get revenge. That's what we know. Man, if you want some dialogue, then talk to me. Don't try to tell me your brainwashed bullshit that CNN reported to you the other day. Get down and just start doing some study. When you move into a white area and you're going to go and act like an asshole, then guess what? Your self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, they're all against me because you're acting like an ass. When I was in Mammoth, I went to a favorite restaurant called the Captain's Table. I take that back. They were the only black kids I knew of in Mammoth. There was a black waiter at Captain's Table. He was a gentleman, dressed nice, served at our table. Never once did I look at him and go, oh, a black person serving us. I looked at him. I said, he's respectable. He does his job well. And I ate my dinner. So who's making the issue about color? Is it us? The reason I'm talking, the reason I'm going bold, the reason I'm wasting time on a Sunday when I could be remodeling my house is because I live in this shit all day long. And a black woman gives a chance when I told the judge, it's been going on for 3 years. He called the police on my son. Your Honor, I called because I have pages of notes on that. That issue's been resolved, and we're here to talk about the dogs. But yeah, he was shaking me out of my own house. Guess what the black family with 3 black girls said? The lady came over to the fence. Hey, how you doing? I said, good. How are you? She goes, did you see all that the other night? I said, yeah, what is going on over there? She goes, oh, they were all making noise. She goes, well, the police, they ticketed them all and told them all to get out of there. I said, oh, they did? I missed that. I must have fell asleep through it all. She goes, I don't like all that. They're waking us up over here. So when he was dealing drugs, now I'm going to give you some background, went over to the house here to say that white boy, Nero, who lived over here, said, I'm about to call the police. You come down the street, I got kids, and you're tearing up and down here, making all that noise with the car, and you play that music so loud? You're not showing respect. I don't got no problem with the white guy. He and I are good. He's always respected me. When a white guy lives his life in such a way that a black person defends me to an idiot, I scored. I got an older black man on the left. He came over and toured my house the other day, said, you do good work. And I said, you've been in it for 50 years. I don't do things the way you do things, I'm sure. He goes, no. He said, you have done a lot of work in here. He didn't like this crap across the way. She stood up at the courtroom and said, I've owned my house 38 years and he's been there 3 years and he thinks he can just, I raised my hand because I'm not going to act stupid in a judge's courtroom. He was a white judge. I don't expect favoritism from white or black. I expect a judge to judge properly. He was trying to get the cases off. Cases before me, drop. Trying to win the election again. Wanted to go to lunch. I get it. Didn't look at my notes. Didn't want to look at my phone with several video recordings of me walking out behind my truck, standing in my yard. The lady says, there's barking dogs all around. Lie. Every time I record it, I don't hear a barking dog anywhere. These other owners pull them in at night. I don't even hear them barking in the day like that. There's pit bulls and dogs all around me. But what chapped my ass is when the black woman says, I've owned my property 38 years. Yeah, and I wanted to say, she dropped her insurance on her. Daughter set the place on fire. They're not doing anything to improve it. There's garbage everywhere. The place looks like a mess. The dogs have jumped over the fence, crapped in my yard, dragged jeans, pants, garbage in my yard. And they're standing in my yard when I'm backing up my truck, barking at me. And I got out of the truck and said, get out of here. And ran at all 3 of them, and they were gone. I don't care what anybody says. When you own your property, I'm not afraid of a fucking dog. And I learned something about dogs. Be the alpha. I don't care how many teeth and fangs. They're out of here. This is my yard. Get out of my property. She's lucky I didn't hit him over the head with a damn shovel or put a bunch of fucking antifreeze meatballs in my yard and let him eat them up. But then she had some boyfriend come in. Older black man. She's old and barely can move, all overweight. She will push the push mower 2 or 3 times. Her daughter will push it 2 or 3 times. They still don't get it done. I go out and do my yard. White boy, we're so bad. And I go out and mow my yard. It takes me an hour. And I just go, the back, the sides, the front, rake, trash can, in the house, done. And they'll bring all these people over, their relatives, and they'll sit around and somebody will rake, lean the rake against the tree, piles all over the yard, and they leave. Nothing's being done. The boyfriend isn't helping her fix the house, remove burnt sheetrock and all the burnt shit. Here's me over here busting my ass. If you want to put a case-by-case basis, and Jayland Walker's no exception, they want to whine about everything and tell us how everybody's wrong but them. Man, I'm telling you, I see it down here in living color. How come white people don't move into black neighborhoods? Because of exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm glad I did it. It gives me the authority and the right to speak because I'm right down here in the middle of the shit. I ought to run for mayor. I ought to be a leader, not because I'm perfect, but because I have a voice and because I'm tired of it and because we need people to stand up. I would not want to be in charge of Chicago or Baltimore. That's overwhelming as hell to me. But guess what? If that's what I felt God was calling me to do, the first thing I'd look at is that big glaring number. Black people killing black people. I'd get my cabinet, I'd get the police. I said, I need you and all of us. I need your protection. We're going through that neighborhood with a bullhorn. Today is when things start to change. Why are blacks killing blacks? What's going on? We're going to find out. You got drug dealing? We're going to shut it down. We're not patting people on the hands. We're going to impose a curfew. You got to work. You got to, at every checkpoint in this neighborhood, you got to show your license and proof of where you work. But this country handicaps people and doesn't let them do their job. They don't let bus drivers ride up the kid and get them off the bus. Kids standing outside the bus last year, smoking pot. Opened the door, said, "My name, what are you doing? You got to wait for me. I don't got to wait for you to finish. I got a bus schedule. Hold on. You're not getting on. Let me call." The dispatch, we had this new manager. I said, "Kid's name, the school, high school, the route. He's standing out here smoking a blunt. Smoking it. Do I have the right to shut the door and move on? No, you have to transport him." That's what's wrong with our society. And you get a black woman who's robbed of her cub, whose cub was fucking around when he shouldn't have been, and gets a $27 million lawsuit. Guess what? That's how you train a society. Now, don't touch those blacks. Don't touch those blacks. Everybody stay away from them. They can clean you out. That's not justice. That's bully pulpit shit. That's bullying. If the police fucked up, then let them face the consequences of it. But it's only the black community that's always fussing about the police, not the Asians, not the whites. The only whites that are the ones that are acting like fools today. And I know there's bad cops. I know there's cops that are, it's not even just racism. It's just there's cops that get that inch of power and they got to be arrogant and rude. And some cops are playing out unprofessional. And then the lady said something else in court. And then the old man pipes up. He didn't even live over here. And I told the judge, I said, I would have come over and talked to her, but I was told don't go to the neighbors because of all the crime in this area. And the man says, well, if this man had used some understanding and some communication and walked across the street, her son had just got out of prison. Oh, really? I should have said, thanks for telling me that. That explains why he was acting like an ass for 8 months. Now you're going to park your car, and this is what he would do. Most people start the car and leave. No, it wasn't running Ralph. He just doing it to be a dick. Played the shit, tore in and out. Then he'd come down the street, turn around and do it 3 times before he'd leave the neighborhood. Just got out of prison, still acting like an ass. Goes and tells the neighbor, the white guy called the police. So I called many, 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 many times over the course of 8 months. And it wasn't until I talked to a black officer that knew people inside that is a friend of mine whose husband is a minister. And I said, man, here's what's going on. And she goes, I'm going to call the captain of your neighborhood. She said, that ain't right. After she talked, shit stopped. They found who the property owner is and said, you know, your son is being a terrorist and bothering somebody over there, and it needs to stop. That grown son will come over there and remove an engine from a car, put it in another car, but he wouldn't go in the house and do anything to help mom get back in the house. She can't legally live in there. The city said he can't. So she's squatting in a travel trailer, hooked up a sewer line to the travel trailer, running through the backyard. That's not legal. I mean, there's all kinds of shit going on. Black people think they can do whatever the fuck they want. Nobody's supposed to question it. We're supposed to mind our own business. The problem is you're making your business my business. Your dogs are bringing shit in my yard. Even after the court hearing, the judge says you need to get control of your dogs. There's a leash law. Put them in the house then if you can't live in the house. Do something. She didn't do anything for 3 months. I started taking notes. I said, wow. We went to court and the dogs are jumping the fence, running around, barking, barking, barking. So I started taking the videos and I thought, this is ridiculous. Do I need to get a fucking attorney? And I posted that all over social media. Posted the videos, not addresses and stuff. And even another black woman I work with said, I cannot believe that she knows it's bothering and she keeps doing it. I said, her son did it. I'd be outside washing the outside windows and my back was to him. He'd get in that car and fired up. Now he doesn't do that anymore. Out there on the streets he does. He only comes around once every couple of months. And he leaves quietly. But when I was driving to church one day, I saw him. Unmistakable. Him in another car playing grab outs. No turn signals. Hauling ass in the 45 zone. I thought, from prison back to bad behavior. And look at the black guy that shot up or stabbed 20 times the Asian woman going to a concert. Now they believe in releasing these people. Isn't that nice? Democrats making America dangerous again. Kind of like the mafia times. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time in Chicago, and Al Capone is getting come by. You can get caught by bullets. And the Democratic Party is the mafia of the day. The Democratic Party is the mafia today. They're corrupt, they're liars, and they're full of shit. And I'm going to say this about the media. I'm going to say this about the Democratic community. They're like the devil, who is the father of lies, seeking to destroy, devour. That's all they're doing. And they've engaged and enabled and entitled the black community to constantly come after us and attack us and say whatever they want, make racial statements, make false statements. And I'm supposed to feel sorry for Jayland Walker. I don't, I can't, and I won't. Would that woman have cared if I'd have died at the hands of her son? Hell no! My point is proven just in that. If it's a black guy killed by a white guy running a red light, that angers me. But you got a race out there, leftists, that believe only in their color. If I was sitting at a traffic light and I saw a black woman get hit by a fool running a red light, I'm going to be angry. If Rodney King had hit me on those LA freeways going 110, where's the money for my son for the loss of his dad, whose dad tried to teach him what is right? Let me tell you something. I have suffered intensely for 3 years down here. Living in a place dominated with African Americans is not easy. Jayland Walker, it's another yawn. It's another one of these same old, same old. And our society is trying to tear the foundations out from under this country. People got pissed off when Trump said, "Make America Great Again." That really angered people. So they voted in a party that's destroying our ability to make a living, jacked up the utilities, taxing the utilities, gas, want to ban the gas stoves, want to ban my air conditioner unit, want to ban my pickup truck because it's an internal combustion. Who the fuck is voting for these shitty people? You guessed it, the people that support Jayland Walker's actions. That's all we got going on. People thought there'd be a big red wave in the elections. All these people care about is the right to murder their babies, to have sex with their dogs and worship their dogs and drink at Starbucks and fuck everybody else. I got mine, screw you, is the Democrat motto. And the typical angry black woman that everybody's wrong but her. Everybody's wrong but her kid. And they want to try to tell me this, well, but they shouldn't be shot 46 times. If they'd have shot him with one bullet, you'd still be bitching about it. We got a fucking prison system full of people that our tax dollars are paying for that are not going to be rehabilitated. They will get out and do the same shit that they've always done. Why are we doing this? Why do we not have the death penalty and get it going in all 50 states? Because of bleeding heart liberals. Bleeding heart liberals are causing more people to be killed just trying to live their damn lives than police are shooting blacks. Where's the outcry? Blacks are killing more blacks than the police ever did. A black surgeon said, the lion's share of his patients are blacks, and they've all come in for surgery being shot, not by whites, not by cops, but by other blacks. You see, if these people turn off CNN and turn off the bullshit and start listening to truth, I'm not a Mormon, okay? But if I'm going to move to some small little town in a deeply Mormon community, do you think that I'm going to go into that community and act like an asshole? You think I'm going to put a penis statue in the front yard in a family with children or a neighborhood with children? You know, it's funny how people want to act up in the society and then say racism. You want to call it racism when somebody doesn't like your loud, offensive music coming into their home with the window shut and their heating system running. I wonder if you'd like it if I played Rush Limbaugh full blast at 2 o'clock in the morning and jarred you out of bed. How about if I take my pants when they're no good and all my trash and throw it over your fence? You as a black person going to tolerate me doing that? I lived in my house 38 years, your house. The foolish woman plucketh her house down with her own hands. Exhibit B. The daughter bought a new car. Daughter lives in the travel trailer. She sleeps at boyfriends or wherever. Is she helping mom? Nope. enablement, entitlement. Everybody's supposed to feel sorry. This situation over here made the media here. Oh, this poor woman. No one's coming over her and helping her get in her home. No one's helping me either. And guess what? Here's a white guy, 57 years old. Took out sheetrock and paneling and stuff and made I don't know how many dump runs and burned stuff in my burn barrel. And I'm doing this by myself, lifting heavy stuff when I'm small frame anyway. I own my house 38 years, gives me the right to be an asshole neighbor. My next door neighbor has bars over his windows and big floodlights all around his house that stay on all night. Do you think he put them there for me? He said, I'm the first person in the 40 years he's owned his house that he's ever talked to and liked in this house. And guess who lived here all these years? Blacks. He said he got tired of looking at the backyard. Grass was 3 feet high and they were throwing bunk beds and furniture and trash. I know because I hauled a lot of that busted shit away. Every time it rains, there's an area under an oak tree where bottles and stuff surface and rusted pliers and porcelain doll heads and all kinds of shit. They literally opened the door and threw trash in the yard. Intellectual thought is a dying thing in our culture today. Guts and saying what I say, and I don't have a polished YouTube channel where I'm in my truck and got my sunglasses popped on my head and bells and whistles and nice studio performance. I'm just a man talking, and this country isn't listening to us. The blacks are fed the lies by the Democrat left that want to beat on the racist drum, make them victims, keep them down, encourage them to sue everybody, encourage them to look for a racist demon behind every bush instead of looking at yourself and saying, you know what, I need to improve me. No one's going to help me do anything. It's up to me to improve my home. It's up to me to deal with my battles. And I love my son, but if my son made national news for something, I'd be like, oh, shit. You think I'm going to go out there and go public? Oh, the police shot him. I'm going to sue. If I get all the facts and he broke the law, no. My son had went down to some bullcrap rioting. He was down at a demonstration down in Denver. He was not participating in the vandalism. At least that's what he said to me. He said a cop car nearly bumped his leg. In fact, bumped him. I said, son, why are you down there anyway? You get out of that shit. I don't care which side. I don't care which side you support. Get out of those high tension. I am not putting myself in a riot crowd. No, I'm not. Getting around a massive anger of humanity is endangering to yourself. They start to stampede or go crazy, you get killed. I said, stay out of that shit. Is it just me or is anybody else getting tired of this? Race baiting. The Democrats are classic race baiters. And it's the same story every time. A black mom's upset because her son was shot, and it's so tragic, so bad. This is such a loss. No, it wasn't. What was he doing for the world at large? Nothing. I have more positive influence on more people than Jayland Walker ever freaking did. And he's running for the police. You know how many times I've been pulled over by the police back in the day when I wasn't following traffic laws? Guess what? Shit. I got caught. I pulled over. Had a cop cuss me out one day. I was complying and he was being nasty. You think I'm going to bow my back up and run my mouth at them? Blacks think they're the only ones that are targeted by the police. If I'd about mouthed off to this guy cussing at me for no reason and said, well, you know what? I'm tired of your bullshit. And man, I would have made trouble for me. Oh, but he treated you different because you're what? Cussing me out when I pulled over and I showed my license, had my hands up. Really? Telling me I better not see you again? At 3 o'clock this morning, I have to pick up the Prescott Courier. So you're going to see my truck out there. I'm compliant. Not arguing, not being disrespectful. He's cussing and screaming at me. Let a white guy do that to a black guy and watch what happens. The fireworks are going to fly. I'm a white guy. He had no right to talk to me. He did not have a legal right to talk to me that way. That is not professional protocol. I could have turned him in for that shit. Y'all think that police pick on blacks. A lot of people I've talked to don't even want to go into those high, dangerous, volatile neighborhoods. And when they get sent to duty, they're like, oh, shit. They know what's against them. They know the stakes are high. They know they have to follow protocol. Now I didn't get to sit down on a trial where the officers brought in their evidence. I wish I could see that in video format. But yeah, if the cops are wrong, then they should get the full money of justice against them. But I just don't believe that in this case. If they lied and planted evidence, not only should they get fired, but yeah, they should all be deep sixed. But the facts that are right there in front of me is that he fled 2 nights in a row, got away with it the first time. That emboldened him to do it again within 24 hours. If he's just doing door drop or DoorDash, what's he running for? Oops. We're living in a new generation where we're being bullied into silence. We're bullied into fear. We're being told that we're racist, the woke generation. We can't offend anybody. I said what I said. I'll make no apologies for it. There's good black people. There's bad black people, just like there's good cop, bad cop. But you know what? This story is getting old as fuck. And Jayland Walker's mother wouldn't have cared if I'd have been killed by the actions of her son. She would not have given a shit about my life. She wouldn't know the pain that I've gone through all my life, my suffering. She don't care. And I'm tired of this one-way street narrative. We live in an American society, and I've talked about it even in white women's society, where women will never say, I'm sorry. We live in a culture that's enabling bad people to get away with bad stuff and blame everybody but themselves. Projecting what they're guilty of on everybody else. It's not right, folks. It just isn't right.